All right. Good morning, everyone. Hello, it's Yvonne here, and thank you so much for joining us for another Mornings with Mayesh that's actually happening in the morning time. I love it. Today, you are going to learn how to slay inflation on events already sold, up your profit margins, and handle supply chain issues like a boss. Ryan O'Neil of Curate is my very special guest today, and I know you aren't going to want to miss this episode. So hang on there with us. If you have any questions, be sure you post them in the comments and we will get to those. Also, a little reminder that if you missed the live, that's okay. Just want to do a shout out to anyone that watches the replay or listens to the podcast. Hi, guys. All of this will be, including our show notes, be posted up on our blogs in a day or two. So if you missed the live or you can't stay for the whole thing, that is okay. While we're getting started, can you say hello? Let us know where you are from. I love seeing that. And don't be shy. We're all here together, learning and growing. I have a couple of items that I want to make sure that you guys know about before we get started as well. Okay, so round 2 deadlines for is coming up August 22nd for our Fresh Path Customer Appreciation Giveaway. That's coming up really, really fast. So be sure you enter for your chance to win one of 5 personal marketing workshops that will help your business. So love that we're doing this. Fresh Path is amazing. Melanie and her team are amazing and so smart. And so definitely check that out if you haven't heard about it. And if you haven't entered, be sure that you do so. Again, round 2, we have 4 rounds. So we're approaching round 2. August 22nd is the deadline. Next is we are searching for all flower nerds. And we want to know if you have what it takes to be a contestant on our first ever Flower Jeopardy game. You have until the end of the month to take our qualifying quiz. And I'm going to put the link up in the comments again for you guys. You can also go to our blog. It's there. There's also, if you go to Instagram and you click on our link in bio, you can find it there. It's all over the place. I think we have over 260 people that have taken the quiz so far. And we have some people that are really super smart. But if you don't know all the answers, don't feel discouraged or silly or whatnot. I mean, I think I took the quiz and maybe got 3 right. Just so I think that should make a lot of you guys feel better. Ryan will probably share how he did as well on that quiz. Of course, he doesn't know which ones he got right or wrong, but I know he thought it was really tough. And it was put together by our flower genius, David Dawson. He is also going to be hosting the game show, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, I'll be there because I'm going to be running the back end tech piece, but it's going to be like really cool real live Jeopardy. So check it out. And if you don't think that you could do well on it, still take it, but also share it with your flower friends. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then last but not least, I want to make sure that you know we've got some feedback that apparently that we only sell to large designers, which that is not true at all. So people think that. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's because we're a big company, but I just wanted to make sure and spread the word that no matter what your size, whether you do a few events to lots of events or just only really big events, we love you all, no matter what size or shape you are in your business. So it's all good. And just so you guys know, I pulled up a quick fact. About 50% of our new registrations are for those who have 1 to 10 events a year and have 0 to 3 experience. So if you've been thinking about reaching out, let go of those hesitations, take that first step and register with us. Once you do that, then we'll connect you with a branch and a sales rep who will love to help you out and share their knowledge with you and help you get started. So it's just kind of taking that first initial step that I know kind of people get a little bit nervous about. So I posted our register link there for you guys. If you have any questions, of course, always reach out. If you get our email, you actually can directly email me. My email's all over the place. It's yashton@mayesh.com. But you can always reach out directly too if that's how you feel more comfortable with any questions that you might have. All right, so those are my housekeeping things that I wanted to go over with you guys. I wanted to say Hello to Chef Miranda, and I got Molly from Brannon representing. We have Coco here. Good morning, guys. Love it, love it, love it. We got a bunch of people over on Instagram too that aren't showing up in my chat, but I have Instagram open on my phone and I have my team paying attention, so we're good there. And so I feel like it's time to bring on Ryan. So let's bring on Ryan. Hey there.
How's it going?
Good, Ryan. How are you doing?
I'm doing just incredible. Doing great.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You've been on my show quite a few times, so thank you for coming back on. But just in case people don't know who you are or anything about Curate, can you just introduce yourself a little bit and share about your flower story?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Ryan O'Neil. I'm the founder of Curate. We automate all of your event and wedding planning proposals, production, profitability. And I got into the floral industry because my wife was just an incredible florist. And I was when I started dating her, she was working at a flower shop, and we got married, and she just kept growing in her career until she and I decided, hey, let's. I can do business stuff. I can do the marketing stuff. She's the flower genius, and we said, hey, let's start a company. Let's start our own event design company. And so we did, and we just had so many learnings that came from that time period. And one of those learnings was it is so complex to map together spreadsheets and all of these pieces that you're trying to put together to help give the customer a good experience, but then feel confident yourself, right? That I'm pricing right, or that I'm, creating a proposal that actually reflects my brand and that I can be proud of. So through that process, we created a Curate, and yeah, so it's been a great time for sure.
Yes, yes, I love it. I love your story, how you got into it. And again, it just kind of sucks you in, right? The floral industry.
It does. It
and
does.
and then you never leave. I love it. I love it.
I was,
That's how we
I
get
was
some amazing people.
I was telling somebody I'm going to be on a panel at SAF, Society of American Florists, their convention next month. But one of the guys, they were from the farm that created the I'm going to feel embarrassed now. The Stargazer lily. That's what it is. The Stargazer
Hmm.
lily. And so I told him it's kind of his fault that I'm in the industry because that was my wife's favorite flower back in the 2000s. Her favorite flower changes. I don't know if this happens for you, but if your favorite flower changes every couple of years. But in the 2000s when we were dating, that was her favorite flower. So I'd always bring her that flower. And that was kind of like the thing for us. So I was like, it's kind of their fault, right, that I'm actually in this industry.
I love it. That's so cute. I love it. All right, so we're gonna talk about some serious stuff, not cute stuff. We're gonna be talking about inflation, margins, supply chain issues, all this stuff that, I feel like we've been talking about for a while. Things kind of crept up on us once the pandemic hit, and we're still kind of dealing with some crazy things. But before we kind of dig into the current issues that a lot of us are facing, can you first give us a few tips on how to price in general? Like, I know in the past you spoke about figuring out how much an owner needs to bring home, and kind of working backwards from there. So is that kind of still how you recommend doing things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we're dealing, a lot of your audience is the entrepreneur, right? Like, they're maybe not somebody who works for somebody who works for the owner, right? Like this audience that's on here, the doers, the handcrafters, the builders, the the accountants, right? Like they've got a million hats that they're wearing, and so when you're in that situation, you have to define not just your pricing goals, but your company goals first. We have to figure out like what's the goal of this company, and figure out how much do I need to make, right? And there's some easy formulas that you can be able to use to figure out, okay, here's what I need, right, just to feed the kids and the dog, or not have to make the choice between the two any month, and um, then you're able to pull in and say, okay, now let's run some actual calculations. Here's how many events I have per year. So here's how much money I need to make on each event. But I would say it goes even beyond that, right? The key is it's an accounting term, but it's margins, right? Like what if I sell an event for $2,000, how much do I need to make on that event? And so your margins, your gross margin, is going to be like $1,000. So let's just say $1,000. If it's $1,000 and I need to make $50,000 in the year, then I need to do 50 of those events, right? So it's a pretty simple I mean, it takes some work to get down and look at your individual situation, but once you get
Right.
your situation lined out, now a lot of people get to that number in a million ways, right? Like some people have a lot of markups, and they'll say, "Hey, mark up your flowers by 3 and your hard goods by 2," and that worked great for a few years. And now with inflation, all of a sudden, all these people who had perfect formulas may not be working out perfectly for every situation, right? Because it's not about the markup. The markup's important, and you'll hear people preach markups. But in the end, what matters is, did I actually make money off of this event? And so that's the key. It's just making sure that you're keeping your margins. Typically, 50% is a good one to say, hey, here's how much money I made off of this event. Here's how much money I brought in from this event. Did I make about 50% of what I was paid in like profit, right? So that's a really important piece.
Right. Yes. And I think that was just really important to talk about before we kind of dig into the next question, of, how are floors dealing with inflation on events already sold? So you kind of, briefly mentioned that, like, this was my markup, and now, they're a year out from what that originally was. And now there's some panic sometimes because they're like, oh my gosh, my markup isn't really covering what I need to
Right.
make now, and everything is so much more expensive. So, you have any tips for our florists listening in?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've heard a lot of great tips from some of our florists, sort of how they've handled those situations. I know we're going to be talking about Stacy K later and kind of her story, but I love to talk with florists and who are actually on the ground seeing some of this. And there's a few things that they're working through, right? And specifically, we're talking about events that are already sold. But number one, if you have not been like explicit, like you're going to get 7 quicksand roses in this bouquet, right? If you've been more aspirational in more aesthetic in the descriptions of like, hey, we're going to have a luscious flowing bouquet, but and only named a few key items, you have some flexibility, right? Creativity comes from constraints, and one of the important things for every business owner out there is you have to have constraints on yourself. That's the problem with being a business owner, right? It comes down to you to be the person who sets down the law and says, you know what, my margins and my profit is important. And so I've got to keep, Christina Berrigan is a big advocate of a profit first mentality. I've got to make sure that we're keeping that profit first. So the key is saying, okay, here's what I have to spend on this. And even if maybe my recipe that I built out is a little bit more robust, well, I wonder if I can be able to reduce that a little bit, but still give the customer everything that I told them that I was going to give them. So that's one key element. Another is if you've just committed to some things and there was a client who was very specific in what they wanted. I know of some florists that are just going back and communicating to them, hey, the price for that specific flower is up 50% over what it was last time. But that said, I've got this other flower that is just incredible that we've been building some new techniques around that would just really make your event a showstopper. And so that's another key element that I would really advocate is if it's one of those situations where someone's been very specific or they've committed to something very specific, you totally can bring it up to them, but you need to have that plan in place before you talk to them. Don't let them figure out and don't put the burden on them to figure out how their event is going to be rebuilt. It has to be you that has to do that legwork ahead of time to say, here's what I'm proposing, and work through it that way. So those are a few different ways that I see people are dealing with it. Not everybody's a CC Todd who will just kind of tell people what it is, right? Like some of
Right.
us are like, you know what, not all of us can have this incredible personality, boisterous personality. We just love what we're doing. Love CC, by the way. But
Yes. Shout out to
it's
Steve.
shout out to C. I know she's watching. She's always watching. CC is always watching you. Um, but yeah, I mean that's such an important piece is being able to kind of have those plans in places. And then the other thing is fixing the today, right? Like, because there's some events that are coming in 3 months away or 6 months away. So make sure you get in your contract about substitutions, right? Like that should already be in your contract that you can make substitutions where needed, right? So those are some key pieces. And then for goodness sake, update your pricing. What we're
Right.
seeing is that people booked an event. I could add a 2020, but I'm going to ignore 2020 because we're in 2022. But people booked an event in 2021 your 2021 pricing was something you hadn't updated, and it was from 2020, right? Like it's just thing life got busy, and so you put in this pricing in 2021 for this 2022 event, and so you're running at your pricing, and then inflation hit over the course of that year when you had already, maybe if you build your recipes ahead of time, maybe you had already built your recipes, already priced it out, and so you're not just in a 1 year inflation that you're dealing with. You're dealing with 2 years of inflation because you hadn't updated your prices. So consistently be going in. Like if you're a Curate user, just click the mass update button and it'll let you click really quickly, go through all the different flours and update the prices based on your up-to-date prices. And then make sure that you're doing like a percentage over, right? Do a high average. If the quicksand roses cost, whatever they do 25% above that just to take care of yourself in case the next year something happens.
Yeah, and I love that tip, especially for items like quicksand roses, right? Like we know they're going to be expensive and we just don't know sometimes how expensive they're going to be. So I think kind of being on the higher side and having a cushion to cover it is a great way to go about things. I also loved what you said about in the very beginning about, for florists who like kind of sell the aesthetic and a look and a feeling rather than like
Right.
specific items. That's something that we recommend 200%, just because it helps everyone. It helps, the florist with their customer, setting expectations, kind of having that conversation about product and how it works, but building that trust, right? Like, I feel like clients book florists because they really trust that florist to do an amazing job and kind of carry out that vision. So if you have that trust and you're selling a look, it gives you more flexibility to kind of provide that look and not be pigeonholed in specific things that might have an issue, because
Right.
we just never know what's going to be the next issue, right?
Right. Yeah, you're totally right, and that's the thing. Like you're never going to find a software that correctly predicts exactly what the pricing is going to be. That's going to have the dynamics. And when you're in a creative industry, there's pros to that, right? The people who are listening to this call are creative geniuses, right? Like they can thrive in this industry. But the flip side of that is like that also means that there's a lot of moving pieces and things you have to continually be creative throughout the entire process.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so next up, in the case study you all released, it seemed like Curate made a big impact on Stacy's company. And guys, I'm going to share a link for the case study that you can read after this, hopefully, so that way you kind of know a little bit more. But Ryan, could you give an overview of what kind of problems Stacy was facing in her company?
Yeah, well, they're problems that everyone on this call is familiar with. The problems that I was facing, my wife and I were facing as well in our company. It's such a cool case study. Go download it. We've never done this before either. This is the I guess the most shocking to me. I think after we got this done, it makes so much sense to actually do a case study of here's someone who actually had problems and how we could help be a part, be a supporting cast in that person's story. But Stacy was having problems. She had 150, 200 events a year. She was doing everything she could to keep her business running, and she had issues where there was communication breakdowns between customers. There was keeping track of rental inventory. She loves spreadsheets and numbers. I know a lot of florists don't love it, but Stacy does, right? Like she loves the spreadsheets and numbers. But even as someone as advanced as Stacy, um, it was having issues trying to keep all of these pieces. So she had random things that were put together. She was the only person she'd try to share with, somebody else in her organization, but she was kind of the expert at those things. So it was kind of hard to hand off things to other people. So it was added to her list. And she had a lot of floral teams that were doing manual tasks, and there were so many of them. They had a full-time person just covering the role of a lot of the manual tasks, things like importing customer data into a proposal document, right? Like somebody's name. Let me go and type that Michaela correctly.
Right.
Breaking down each order to a shopping list. All right, here's. I remember who is it that her someone, I'm trying to remember the name of the florist who was telling me this, but she's like, all right, I'm gonna pull up my bridal bouquet. Let me see if I've got any orchids in there. Yep. okay, let me look up a necktie. Let me see if I have any orchids in there. And they were just manually going through each of the items that they had built together. Similar
Wow.
situation here where they're just having to do the pieces there. And they had to create a spreadsheet for a purchase order from wholesalers, keeping a physical log of like all the different flower prices, and then making sure that all their data is safe and accessible only by the people who needed it. So um, they just found that there was a lot of issues that they were running into trying to hit their company goals and working in spreadsheets and being scared that they were going to lose a key employee, and all of a sudden everything was messed up within their company. And that's where, when they reached out to us, we were able to help them automate a lot of those pieces, automate the shopping list. What Stacy said, and I love hearing stories like this. Stacy said it literally saved them $40,000 to $50,000 a year, because that was for them a full-time employee. And I know not everybody's at the stage where they have 3, 4 full-time employees, but that means that you're doing that work if you don't have the employees. Like you're
Right.
personally taking that on. So it was a really, really cool thing to see the impact we made on Stacy's company.
Yeah, that's great. And then kind of on the flip side, like for the companies that might not have 3 or 4 people, it's like you can add an employee, but not have to pay the
Right.
40 to 50,000 to add an employee. I
Employees
mean,
are cheap nowadays. Like there's no raising wages and the Great Recession. It's none of that's happening.
yeah, but even for my team, we talk about that too. Like, we're a really large company, and there's only 3 of us in my marketing
Hmm.
team right now. So we're always looking at technology to figure out how can we do more with the 3 little us. Like, so yeah, we obviously leverage. I talk about HubSpot. That's like one of the ones that we use.
Absolutely, yeah.
But that has been I feel like that's given us like 2 to 3 people extra on my team just by the way we use it and the functionality that it does for us. So
Right.
that's like really huge. So leveraging technology, and then again for our audience that's listening, like a company like Curate, I think really really great. Um, so is there anything else about Stacy that you want to talk about, and kind of different things that she implemented using Curate to save that like 40 to 50,000?
Yeah, I mean, it really was a huge time saving piece for her, just the automation of it, right? And having a system that thinks like she does. There's so many florists out there who have built just great systems, right? Like they're just sharp florists, but they weren't built for this use case. And so I think that was the biggest thing, is being built for through the mindset that by someone who came out of the design industry,
Right.
was a huge piece for that. But yeah, like that's the thing. I mean, we have so many florists out there that we love working with, that they're sending out proposals, before they come to Curate, that they're just not confident in the pricing on, or they're not confident and they look like they're worried. I like to joke around. I'm sure there's a florist who goes to bed and they can't sleep because the proposal they just sent out 20 minutes ago. They're not sure that it really represents their brand, and they're not super confident in the look of it, and so they're not sure that they're going to win the client. And they finally get over that, and their very next worry is like, oh shoot, what if they do accept it? What if my pricing's wrong? Like, what if I'm going to be up on a huppah looking around 7 months from now saying, why did I charge them this cheap for this huppah, right? Like, and so
Right.
like you're consistently in this confidence battle, and just being able to help florists sleep better at night is a really important part for us.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Ryan, do you have any new tips that you've heard about how florists are handling supply chain issues? Because, that's something that we're all struggling with here too.
I was I was emailing Stacy about this very same question the other day, like Stacy K in our case study. But I was telling her we're going to make her famous on Mayesh and stuff, and so she saw that an email blast came out and was like, "I'm famous!" It was so cool. Um, but I was asking her about that, like, what are you seeing on the ground floor? Because for her, she's like, "Hey, we saved a full time job here on a lot of our processes, but now we got like a new part time job in just processing, supply chain issues and things like that." So I would love to hear I'm going to share what Stacy has, but I don't know if people can leave in the comments. I'd love to hear what the audience has, like if they've got any feedback about what they're doing to combat inflation and supply chain issues. But some of the things Stacy mentioned to me was, one, it's kind of gone are the days of running down to the wholesaler and picking up a couple extra items because you're short a couple, right? Like she's like, everything has to be done the week before 11 o'clock the Wednesday the week before. It just has to be done. No more changes, and we're going to place the order and get it in. So she's starting to put her orders in earlier. I don't know if y'all are seeing this at Mayesh, but we're hearing a lot of our florists who are saying that they're just doing pre-orders, like really early pre-orders. They're doing their legwork. They're creating their curate proposals, creating their recipes in it. And as soon as that event's locked in, and as soon as they feel confident that they're able to get to a locked-in point on that event, they send their pre-order over to be able to get that locked in, to be able to make sure that they're. Is that something y'all are seeing at Mayesh?
Yeah. We're getting a lot of pre-orders and pre-books, as we call them here at Mayesh, and we actually have a new program called Pre-Book
Oh, cool.
that doesn't allow people to order like 6 months in advance or anything like that online, but like you can always send your sales rep an order as soon as you're ready to send it. But now we have the capability for I think about 30 to 60 days out online, depending on the branch. So that's a really cool program that's, I think, helping a lot of customers as well. Kind of, again, knowing that pricing and seeing the pictures and just, helping streamline their business and saving them a bunch of time too with the back and forth.
Right. Right. And one thing as well is substitutions. A lot of and Stacy mentions this to me, like if they know early enough, hey, we need the substitution. One cool thing is, if you begin this is if you have a system that does this and curate, like if you're in your order, you can actually swap two flowers for each other, like from your order, and it'll swap it throughout all of your design sheets and everything like that. So you can basically more fluidly be able to be able to make that change. Another thing is just holding back, that Stacy mentioned, is holding back a lot of their hard goods. They're over ordering hard goods, kind of keeping them in stock, making sure in case something happens with that they've got those backed up. And the other thing too is just that Stacy said we just have, we're creatives. We just have to be creative. And there's times where, if there's no Oasis corsage glue, she's like, all right, let me teach you some new mechanics, right? And so they're having to learn new mechanics to deal with supply chain situations, to figure out, okay, we don't have something that we've been utilizing, so we're going to now figure out a kind of a new, take an advanced floral mechanics course, in the moment, and figure out
Right.
how to make this happen.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing tip, especially like I literally was on a Facebook group and someone was literally down to their last tube of floral adhesive glue that comes in the tube. And they're like, what do I do? So I think experimenting with new design mechanics, testing out new methods and, with things that are available, I think that that's a really great tip. So I think that's wonderful. Anything
For
else,
sure.
guys, that you're all listening? You're being quiet today, so share with us how you're handling the supply chain issues. We'd love to hear that. And what else? Anything else for supply chain, Ryan, that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Those are some of the key ones. Like if and I'm talking out loud here as I'm thinking of
Yeah.
stories, but just recap is order early, right?
Mhm.
So then, and ordering early also allows you to be able to make substitutions early, and then be prepared to be creative is the biggest thing, right? Like you're just going to have to think
Yeah.
on your feet, and it's better to do that a week earlier than what you normally would be doing that at. Don't whereas normally you could be thinking on your feet, a few days ahead of time, like get those plans in place and force yourself to stay up late that extra night, ahead of your big weekend, 2 weeks ahead of your big weekend, versus the week of your big weekend and trying to figure out some dynamics at that point.
Yeah, I love that tip. Because we do have some people that still do things very last minute, and things do pop up last minute. We get that. But I think the sooner that you can act on and kind of take care of those items that you need to make that event happen, the better for everyone and less stress. Let's bring down our stress levels because man, it's been like
It's
really
crazy.
stressful.
It's crazy. Yeah, for
Right?
sure.
And not just business, like personal, like everything is just, I feel like going crazy. So I think anything that we can do on the business ends of things to kind of bring down those stress levels, I think is good for everyone all around for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes. All right, Ryan. So So, what should our listeners anticipate coming down the line in software for florists? What do you
Yeah, so
think?
it's a great question. So let me start it out by saying October 11th we have a really big announcement. So I don't know that we've ever made an announcement, started talking about an announcement two months ahead of time, but we are. So I've got a link if people would like to be a part of this. We got a really big announcement from Curate that we're excited to share with the world. But this announcement kind of comes from the heartbeat of something. What I can say about it, it's super top secret, so you just got to come to the webinar to be able to find out the actual announcement. But what I can say about it is since COVID and over the past couple of years, Curate as a company, we just had to rethink about our mission as we've been talking to florists, as we've been seeing other people in the event industry who've had headaches as well. Like we've got some caterers who started floral businesses within their catering department, but then they're like realizing the headaches in their catering department. So now caterers are using Curate as well. As we were going through all of that process of working through the dynamics of changes, we started asking internally, like, what are we doing? Are we going in the right direction as a company to be able to help with all the problems that these people are facing? So one thing that in that process is just internally looking at our company, and I'm sure everyone listening is always consistently thinking about this for your own company as well. Like, where am I going? What's the mission of what I'm doing? Um, we rebuilt our mission and we refocused our mission around the proposal, production, and profitability flow. There's so many different areas that we could help and that we could add new features or go into a new area and do something that we've never done. And a lot of our florists have asked us for either new features with what we currently do, or hey, man, it'd be awesome if you guys did this other thing as well. And what we realized is we absolutely had a heartbeat and a commitment to small businesses. And so we've refocused our mission around small businesses. And so we relaunched a mission earlier this year, and our mission is to empower people to easily connect all of the pieces of their small business. That's from proposal to production to profitability. And that's our mission. And what that means for us is saying no to a lot of stuff and saying yes to kind of the core piece. So we've got a big announcement coming up on October the 11th that we're going to be kind of sharing the world what we've been doing for the past couple of years here and how we've been rebuilding some things. So I feel like it's going to be something that anybody who's a Curate fan or who's been a part of the Curate story for the past 7 years or so is going to be really excited about, because we're realizing that we're doubling down on our commitment to what we've already been doing, but making them even more narrow and really focusing on small businesses and small business owners like the people that are on this call.
So exciting. So I shared the link in the comments, guys. It's up on the screen. I click on the link because there's no way for you to really type that in. You can't click on my screen, but you can go to the comments, click on that, and fill out the form there. And I wanna be in the know of all the new stuff. So that's really cool. Very exciting. Congratulations,
Yep.
Ryan.
For sure. We're just, we love it. We come out of this world and we love that we, as a company have determined that we're going to continue investing heavily back into just making people's lives easier, right? Yeah, hopefully we can save time for people, and hopefully we've already done that with like the stories like Stacy K. But people have enough going on, and if we can be a support, we always kind of want to be a supporting cast member in everybody's story.
Yes. And same here. I did, I think we have our Riverside team listening in, and they just put a little comment in Instagrams and when we were talking about, managing supply chain and when to order. And they were just wanted to put in a little friendly reminder that, ordering at least 2 weeks ahead of the date that you need to pick up the product is really ideal. And then again,
Absolutely.
I want to mention the pre-book. I'm putting the link there too. You guys can check that out. I think almost all of our branches have it, but it's a way for you to, again, order early, get your pricing. And again, it kind of avoids that kind of back and forth. There's usually thousands of items listed there,
Mm-hmm.
and with the pricing, pictures for most of it. And so it's just a really cool online tool for you guys to use. Of course, it's for customers only, so you got to register and get a username and password. But yeah, check that out, guys.
Yeah, do it. And
Anything else? Yeah.
yeah, I just want to say I'm thankful for the Mayesh team. Y'all are consistent, like tools like this prefect. Y'all are consistently trying to think of like how can we help florists. I know we've for a long time like had tried our best to let people start off really quickly in their Curate accounts with some Mayesh photos and pricing. A lot of times people think they're predictive, like they're going to predict 12 months from now what the pricings are. It's never been the case, but I do like
No.
the confidence that people have in us. And I love
Right.
seeing you all consistently asking this question of, hey, how can we make this simpler for people who are doing this? So I was just looking around on this pre-book page, and that's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I know I think we're good little two peas in the pod. We're just trying to do our best to help everyone's life be easier and get the flowers they need and, hopefully educate and inspire along the way. And yeah, we love Curate. We love you, Ryan. Oh, I love all the feelings, guys. Right? All right. Well, guys, I used to do you remember way back in the day, guys, when I first started doing these? By the way, you're, I think, episode 97 or 98
Oh,
of my podcast. So we're going to be hitting number 100 really, really soon, probably next month.
that's cool.
I know, right? But back in the day when we first started doing these, I would literally just spend whole episodes answering questions. And for some reason, I don't know. Do you guys just not have any more questions for us? That's what I'm curious about. Because I ask for questions all the time, and I'll get like a couple here and there, right? In episodes, sometimes there's sometimes I get zero. It's very funny, and I can't predict it one way or the other. I'm not figured it out 100 episodes in. But yeah, I'm just curious about all of that. What are your guys' questions? We actually on our Instagram story, and this, I have a reason for bringing this up, not just to talk about how I used to get lots of questions and now we don't see a ton, but we're doing an Ask Me Anything, I think, soon on our Instagram story. We have like a bunch of different big categories asking for questions, and then there's a page where you can kind of put whatever you want. So that might be fun. We're gonna Michael's saying it's back to school. I know, it's back to school. Guys, I only
That's
have my
true.
dog in my house right now. It's like crazy to me. I'm a little bit sad, but it's also nice to have some peace and quiet during the day. And, no screaming or fighting, right? When the kids are fighting, don't like that. So yeah, everyone's back at school. Everyone's busy. I know everything's starting to pick up. But yeah, if you guys have questions, definitely send them in, because I want to help answer them and bring on people and talk about things that you want to hear. People like Ryan, who's amazing about talking about pricing and margins and making sure that your business is in tip-top shape, allowing you to make a living doing what you love to do. That's what we want to help you guys do. That is for sure. Ryan, do you have any closing thoughts for us?
No, I'm just super excited about what everybody's doing. I know everyone is it's the weirdest dynamics of having a lot of events happening, but at the same time having weird dynamics to actually fulfill those events with the supply chain and inflation. I just want to encourage everybody out there, just keep doing what you're doing, make some people smile, bring light to people's day, and just want to say thanks to everybody out there for the work that y'all are doing to help other people.
Yes, I love that. Yes, thank you guys. Yeah, for helping put smiles on people's faces all around the world, across our country. We love you guys. And that is a wrap on today's Mornings with Mayesh. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. And like I said, I have a couple more episodes before we hit number 100. I'm super excited. I'm pretty sure, yes, woohoo! Next up, we're going to have Ashley back on to dive a little bit more deeper into her underwater floral install video. I don't know if you guys watched that yet. It's all over though, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, our blog. And it is definitely jaw-dropping. Ryan, if you haven't watched that yet, you need to. I know you're not
Okay.
on the flower ends of things, but it's probably one of the most unique videos that we've ever done, and I've honestly haven't seen anything like this out there ever. So
That's
if you're
cool.
in need of a little inspiration, definitely check that out. And Coco says she's new. She's a little new to be asking questions. She's designing right now for herself and her friends and about to start meeting pros. That's amazing, Coco. So welcome to the industry. If you're just getting started, this is, I think, a good place to kind of learn and grow and meet new people. I don't see Penny and Hunter's Florals here, but they're here very often, and they like to share things. So those might be good people to kind of reach out to. They comment on a lot of our past things, so you can check that out. And Ryan is sharing with me a blog that is going to be perfect for you. How to start a floral shop from scratch. So thanks,
Yeah.
Ryan, for sharing that.
Coco, hopefully it's helpful. This was hours and hours and hours of work. But I was trying to put together all of what we did when Rachel and I, my wife and I, started our floral company. There were no blogs out there. No, it was just 2013, and there really wasn't a lot of like the wedding industry as its own entity in the floral wedding industry was just kind of burgeoning with Pinterest and Instagram. There's just nothing out there. So we put this together to help companies like yours, Coco, to really just start asking those questions. How do I start my company from scratch?
Yes, I love it. We've been wanting to do a guide too. I'm going to take a look at your blog. Yeah, we have like
Yeah.
a bunch of ideas written down, especially for like our ends of things. People don't really know how it works, and especially shipping people, that's like a really scary thing. We feel
Right.
like for people to kind of take that step, and even if they like pick up at an airport, like how does that work? And one time, Amy Belsters, we love Amy. She's one of our flower friends, along with Ryan and Christina and Cece, all these amazing people that we've talked about today. But she actually like did a video of her picking up our flowers that we had sent her for something, so that way they could see and like kind of take away the scariness. You just kind of pull up and you go into the office and you
Yep.
show them your number, and then they bring out the boxes and put in your car, and it's not this scary thing. So it was pretty cool, but we like want to do more of that and kind of help educate people to kind of take that mystery away.
Yeah, it's so easy. If anyone is thinking about ordering from the airport, my wife and I, our shop was literally a mile from Flower Row in St. Louis, and we would drive 20 miles up to the airport to go get Mayesh stuff. And from the airport, it's such a simple process. You just got to go up, and there's typically, you aren't going into the you aren't going into like the main terminal where stuff's coming in. For the most part, they've got their own little separate spot, and it's super easy to happen. So we love doing that whenever we had our shop.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Ryan. All right. Well, good luck, Coco. And I hope to see you at our next Mornings with Mayesh. And thank you again to everyone who's watching. Stay tuned for our next show. I'll be posting about that very soon. And I'll see you again. Have a great day, everyone, and enjoy back to school season. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.